HMAS Adelaide arrives in Port Moresby. Minister says there is no drug shortage. And grade 12 school leavers to apply online.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Saturday's news. The Royal Australian Naval vessel HMAS Adelaide arrived in Port Moresby this morning ahead of the APEC security drill that's scheduled for tomorrow. HMAS Adelaide is a warship that has a landing helicopter dock and has sailed into Port Moresby Harbour with 2 class patrol boats.
The Royal Australian warship was seen sailing into Port Moresby Harbour this morning at 7:30. Its presence in Papua New Guinea is to house Australian Defence Force personnel and helicopters, while the 2 patrol boats will be providing maritime security during the APEC Leaders Week. HMAS Adelaide will assist with monitoring restricted areas of Port Moresby Harbour, a measurement established by the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary Maritime Police. They will work alongside the Papua New Guinea Defence Force maritime element.
So our people can expect to see military ships as well as police watercraft, military aircraft, choppers moving around the Port Moresby airspace, especially focused around the harbour area, to integrate, prepare and do the final checks so that we are completely ready. We have complete land, maritime and air control of all those domains by the time the first of the APEC leaders arrive.
Over the next 2 weeks, more warships are expected to be seen doing patrols in the waters near the Port Moresby Harbour and the APEC House. Meanwhile, a security drill will be conducted by members of the Joint Security Task Force team in Port Moresby tomorrow. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Health Minister Pukatemu says the issue of medical drug shortage in PNG is now under control and that the issue was due to a communication breakdown in the supply chain between the clinics and hospital management. However, the minister said people affected had the right to complain and thanked the media for addressing the issue, which was brought to the attention of health authorities.
The issue of medical drug shortage is being addressed by the Health Department, with Health Minister Pukatemu thanking the media, especially EMTV, for airing the complaints of the public.
The media is reporting a shortage. You go and check with the manager and everybody, and then we move together, and that's a very healthy situation. I acknowledge that there are shortages, but in the country, the situation is better.
Temu says the medical drugs have been shipped upon receiving reports of the shortage, including the issue of TB drug shortage in the Western Highlands.
Like the Ley, the Scott White, they reported in Ley, Engau, everything, there was a shortage, and when we heard about it, we moved the box from Moresby to Ley, and now they are distributing those things. So it's that type of thing. I'm not complaining about people complaining. I think it's very healthy.
Dr. Temu says there was reports of drug shortage in the media, but the country is not in short supply. The area medical stores are well equipped to restock the shelves of the affected clinics.
But it's not like in February this year, before we reorganize ourselves. Right now, when there are shortages, one of the reasons of shortages is that the health facility manager is not able to manage and order and bring drugs to the facility.
The minister also pointed out that there was a communication problem between the clinics and the supply chain. He says the miscommunication is being addressed and the supply chain will be monitored so that the medicines are delivered straight to the aid posts and clinics. He has called on community leaders to report logistics companies that fail to deliver straight to the clinics and aid posts so that necessary measures can be taken. Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Preliminary roadworks on the construction of a 4-lane highway leading into the police college at Bomana from 9 Mile outside Port Moresby is underway. This comes following numerous concerns raised by police and correctional officers who live in the Bomana area.
This road leads to the police college the NCD Dog Unit Directorate, the Correctional Service College, the Bomana Prison, and barracks for both police and CS officers. An estimated 2,000 people use this road on a daily basis. This includes the inmates who travel down to the courthouse at Waigani for their court hearings and the families of the correctional officers who go to school or work in Port Moresby. In previous news stories MTV had run in May and June this year, PMV bus operators and vehicle owners had expressed sadness over the bad road condition, thus it becomes expensive for them to service their vehicles. Because of this, the passengers are charged a fee of 2 kina from out of Bomana. However, over the last 15 years, there has not been any maintenance work done on this road. In March, National Court Judge Justice Panuel Mogish has described the road conditions as a disgrace and says the road needs urgent attention from those in authority. The responsibility of maintaining this road falls under either the member for Moresby North East and the Minister for Correctional Service. 6 months after an initial roadworks is being conducted to build a 4-lane highway that will link all government assets in the Bomana area. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
West New Britain Provincial Police Commander Superintendent John Meady is confident that all the 39 escapees of the Lucky Amata prison will be recaptured soon. He said police in the province are now working around the clock in efforts to recapture the 39 inmates who broke out of the Lucky Amata prison on October 28. Of the 43 prisoners who escaped, 3 were shot and killed by prison guards and 1 voluntarily surrendered to the authorities. PPC Media appealed to the public in the surrounding communities to come forward and assist police and prison officers recapture the escapees. He assured the public that the identities of those providing information to police will be protected. You're with National EMTV News. We'll be back with more stories after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Members of the 2016 University of Papua New Guinea Students' Representative Council have questioned the government of the slow release of the Commission of Inquiry report into the 2016 student shooting. In a statement released yesterday, the students urged the government to table the report for public consumption. They say justice must be served and those responsible must be accountable for their actions. The students call on the Prime Minister Peter ONeill to respond and state the status of the Commission of Inquiry. The shooting took place on June 8 of 2016 and about 14 students were injured with 3 sustaining serious bullet wounds. As a global telecommunication company with branches in PNG, Huawei will now work with the government to provide ICT skills training. This comes after the launching of the Huawei ICT Talent Program on Tuesday. The government is working on building local ICT talents, and the Huawei ICT Talent Program is set to help achieve this objective.
The Huawei ICT Talent Program, which was launched on Tuesday, will provide an academic program, scholarships for students, and an ICT training center. The program will provide links with industries to share knowledge in ICT, provide internship opportunities for students, and work placement opportunities. Papua New Guinea is in transition from the traditional society to modern economy, and more ICT skills are needed for the country's development.
Digital tools will make it possible to offer health and education to our remote regions and communities. We believe that ICT is the true foundation upon which our nation will become prosperous and competition in the new world order. We are now only weeks away from APEC Summit, and the theme for APEC is Harnessing Inclusive Opportunities, Embracing the Digital Future. So it is very timely that we develop programs to support our nation's digital future.
The Secretary hopes that the ICT Talent Program will provide the much-needed ICT skills for the development of the country. Industries in the country need ICT to market their products. Therefore, ICT skills and talents are in demand.
ICT is an emerging industry not yet well recognized by the people of PNG, and Huawei aims to improve and build people's understanding and interest in ICT. The ICT Talent Program is part of Huawei's corporate and social responsibility in making positive impact and helps build a better society in PNG. Reon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
Grade 12 school leavers will now have to apply to higher education institutions using an online system. Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology Minister Pila Nenengi recently announced the new National Online Application System, which opened in October this year. As of the 26th of October, a total of 28,575 students from secondary schools have registered to apply online. Of this figure, 24,893 have made their choices within the online system.
To use the system, schools will have to send their school information booklet containing the number of enrolled grade 12 students to the Measurement Services Division of the Education Department. Schools will then receive an invitation letter allowing the principals to create an account to use the system. With the data received, DHEST will send to each student an invitation letter via the principal's account. This letter will give the students eligibility to create an account of their own to apply online. With the online system, grade 12 school leavers will have more choices with the eligibility to choose up to 5 preferred programs. They will also be provided with more information such as clear requirements of each program and residential options. Students will have more time for deciding. Their application will be matched to the chosen program's examination combinations, and they will have increased chances for admission through subject combination matching. Mr. Nenengi announced that the new system will be the only official selection system for the 2019 academic year and into the future. He further stated that the system was introduced to move away from the paper-based selection process and to eliminate bribes, nepotism, and discrimination. For this year, some students have opted to apply offline. However, their information will be uploaded via the school principal's account. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News.
Neighbours New Ireland and East New Britain have pledged to work together and achieve autonomy. This week, during the 9th Council of Elders Conference at Tonga Island, Governors Sir Julius Chen and Nakikus Konga presented a spear to Intergovernment Relations Minister Kevin Isifu. The small ceremony signifies the collaboration of the two provinces for the national government to hand down powers in other sectors. The Council of Elders, including officers from the respective provincial governments and other government departments, were present to witness. Meanwhile, Minister Kevin Isifu says the journey has progressed, and he says this will see closer consultation between the two levels of government. Still on autonomy, Prime Minister Peter ONeill says over the next 7 years, 3 provinces will be given powers to run their provincial governments. PM ONeill says before Papua New Guinea celebrates 50 years of independence, the 19 other provinces will be working closely with the national government. He urged provincial governments and people to understand the type of autonomy exercised in the country. PM ONeill made this statement during the handing down of powers to New Ireland provincial government this week.
The first step that we have embarked on with 3 provinces will continue over the next 7 years. Every year we will try our very best to empower 3 different provinces. Together we will achieve that in 7 years when we will celebrate our 50th anniversary of the independent state of Papua New Guinea.
Hohola Demonstration Primary School has 2 new classrooms. The keys were officially handed over by the General Manager of Pentrade Pacific Limited to the school's board chairman today. The event marked one of its major achievements as they were selected by the Department of Education to take on and trial for grade 9 in 2019.
Children, all the best for the future.
Keys for the 2 classrooms were officially given today to Hohola Demonstration Primary School by Pentrade Pacific Limited, the company responsible for the construction of the building. General Manager Wilson David says the building has very important features and told the students to take good care of the classrooms.
Number one, it's fireproof. It's made of metal. You cannot burn it down. Number two, it is termite proof. There's no termites and ants and all that will eat it up, like in timber. So the ants will eat it up. So no, you won't have that. It's like brick, but it's made of steel.
Hohola Demonstration Primary School was selected by the Department of Education to trial for grade 9 in 2019. Currently, the school has 322 graded students and the ratio is 1:60. Students who are unable to meet the requirements for upper secondary will continue the grade 9 at Hohola Dam.
I think the building has come at the right time when the Department of Education has selected our school to take on and trial grade 9s in 2019 or thereafter. So it's a great news for all of us. I am very grateful as a chairman of the Hohola and very proud of that achievement for Hohola Dam, because grade 9 in primary school is going to happen for the first time in Hohola demonstration to be trialed so that Papua New Guinea can have grade 9s in primary schools in the future. So these are big milestones for all of us.
The classrooms are now open for every student to use. Podivai, National MTV News.
And apologies, that event took place yesterday and not today. Moving on, the PNG Fire Service in Port Moresby this week received new fire trucks and equipment courtesy of the Japanese and Australian governments. The 6 new trucks were donated by the Japanese government, while the equipment by Australia. The PNG Fire Service will use the trucks and equipment to contain any immediate threats during the APEC Leaders Summits.
The 6 fire trucks were made available through a grant assistance provided by the Japanese government under its Grassroots in Human Security Projects program. Yesterday, the new trucks' equipment were handed over by Japan's Deputy Chief of Mission to PNG, Hiroshi Nawata, and Australia's Deputy High Commissioner to PNG, Kathleen Wilson. Hiroshi Nawata said that the Japanese government had been reaching out to schools, local governments, various institutions and non-profit organizations in PNG for over 30 years and was confident that the trucks would go a long way in serving the country.
The Embassy of Japan has been reaching out to schools, local governments, health institutions and non-profit organizations in PNG for nearly 30 years. Through GGP.
Equipment donated by the Australian government includes 2 refilling gas stations, 170 personal protective clothing, and 6 sets of breathing apparatus from the Queensland Fire Service. Member for Moresby South and Minister for APEC and Lands and Physical Planning, Justin Tuchenko, thanked Japan for the timely assistance.
Thank you to Australia and especially Japan for their complete commitment to making sure that APEC for 2018 is a success.
The minister also thanked the Queensland Fire Service for providing assistance and training the PNG firemen.
I'd like to also thank the Queensland Fire Service as well for coming on board to train our PNG elite here that are here to upgrade their skills, to enhance their abilities, to utilize these fire engines and vehicles that have been sponsored by the Japanese government.
The assistance from both countries will not only help the PNG Fire Service to carry out their duties, but will also bolster PNG's relationship with Japan and Australia. Elizabeth Guka, National MTV News.
You're at Saturday's News. Stay tuned for stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, a 3-year civil war in Yemen is having an effect on children, with 11 million children in Yemen being malnourished. Warning, some of the images may be disturbing to some viewers.
Yusuf arrived at the hospital yesterday. At first, his family couldn't afford to take him to hospital. They had to wait until they could scrape together enough money for the journey. They turned him over to examine his back, but it's too painful. His malnutrition is so advanced that every breath is a wheeze of agony. At 13 years of age, he weighs as much as a 4-year-old. Here at this hospital in Sana'a, they've been inundated with starving children. Muhammad is just 5 months old and is severely malnourished. Starving mothers giving birth to starving babies, and the cycle continues.
Every single day, more than 100 children are dying because of causes related to the conflict and to the crisis. There are 7 million people in Yemen who are malnourished, 3 million of whom are acutely malnourished. It is a devastating, heartbreaking, very human tragedy.
For the last 3 years, Yemen has been in the grip of a civil war, pitting the US-backed Saudi-led coalition against Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Here in Yemen, even as criticism swelled over allegations of official Saudi involvement in the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, the world ignored the Saudi Crown Prince's other undertaking, restoring the government of President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi at whatever cost. Now it may almost be too late.
You've asked us the important question about whether or not we can scale up to meet the increased needs across the country. We estimate that 14 million people could be at the brink of famine. But we know that if we receive funding and receive it now, that we will be able to reach these people. It will, however, require that all of the parties to the conflict do everything they can to facilitate and support our work.
Dalia is just over a year old. She has the telltale swollen stomach of malnutrition. Her shallow breaths almost as much an agony for her mother as they are for her. Her mother says she needed an operation to insert a feeding tube. Their last hope. Now, they wait. Yusuf's mother rubs his hands. She's already lost 2 children. And she doesn't know whether Yusuf will survive, whether he'll ever be the same again. Like so many mothers here, she can only hope and pray.
U.S. Secretary of State says 8 oil importers in the U.S. will get temporary oil sanctions against Iran, a move by the U.S. to get other countries to purchase oil from Iran. Despite the pressures, Iran remains defiant.
The usual chants against America, more forceful than usual, during hardline Friday prayers in Tehran. A Revolutionary Guard general ripping into the U.S. We are encountering a real fight with our main enemy, America, he says, and they're using all the resources they have and organizing a battle against us. As the U.S. is set to hit Iran with new crippling sanctions, defiance from religious conservatives.
I think these kind of sanctions make us more powerful for the future. And I think this is an opportunity.
So far, Iran's rulers not buckling under U.S. pressure.
If it was the Trump administration's intention to try and weaken the Iranian government, that certainly doesn't seem to be happening. In fact, it seems as though many Iranians are uniting behind the power structure of clergy, military, and their government in anger over Washington's policies.
President Trump has already hit Iran with a flurry of sanctions.
We are doing a big number on Iran,
sending Iran's economy and its currency into a tailspin. Now, the U.S. will target Iran's important oil and gas sector, potentially a crushing blow to Iran's finances, causing concerns in this moderate area. The economy has started getting worse and worse, this woman says, and everyday items are 3 to 4 times more expensive than before. And some even calling for talks with D.C. We need real negotiations that both governments would be committed to, this woman says, and they shouldn't leave the table again. Defiance, anger, but also deep concern as Iran's people once again brace for more economic hardship.
You're at National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay tuned for that.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To cricket overseas, 2020 Kings have reigned again, with Pakistan clinching the series again with a game to spare. Host team won by 6 wickets in Dubai.
It started oh so well for the Black Caps.
There's your sighter, and it's gone all the way.
But much like the first T20, getting the team to 50 is fine. Getting past it, not so much.
Inside edge.
And then in a flash, Colin Munro had a brain fade. Kane Williamson came in, and while the captain looked good, he wasn't getting much support. Ross Taylor included in that, run out for the second innings in a row.
Coming back! I reckon it's all over, Red Rover!
It left New Zealand in a hole, but in a sign of some promise, Williamson was ably assisted by Corey Anderson, the powerful left-hander showing signs of just that in his second game back.
Gets that and gets it well, does Anderson. That's the power he's got.
The pair helping New Zealand post 153 for 7. Pakistan making light work of that early. The Black Caps needing acrobatic brilliance from their captain to stem the flow.
Up in the air and brilliant. Williamson, you've got to be kidding me.
But poor bowling let Pakistan set a platform. And despite getting out to a required run rate of 10, the hosts always looked in control.
That sounded pretty sweet. Oh, yes.
Regular partnerships and a quickfire 34 off 21 from Mohammad Hafiz, helping Pakistan clinch their 11th straight T20 series.
Could probably nitpick and look at 2 balls here or a couple of deliveries when we're batting, but it's important just to be a little bit better all round, I think.
The third and final T20 is on Monday morning, and while the Black Caps have been close twice, they're still seeking their first win under Gary Stead.
The All Blacks are in England preparing to take on the home side next week, and the pressure is on England's coach.
Eddie Jones likes pulling off upsets, not being on the receiving end of them, but under his watch England lost 5 tests in a row this year.
Well, there's pressure in every time you coach a test match, there's pressure.
He's hoping the well-travelled John Mitchell, his new defensive coach, will shore things up in his return to England 18 years after his last assistant coaching gig there. Jones is also banking on another Kiwi, Dylan Hartley, who's now co-captain with Owen Farrell.
Do you think 2 captains can be better than one?
I don't see why not.
Could be on for England.
We spend that much time together during the week talking about things, making sure that we're aligned, so that we're on the same page, so that come the weekend our decisions aren't that far away. And
Brad Shields gets his 3rd test cap in a very inexperienced loose forward trio. England snapped its losing run with a 25-10 win over tomorrow's opponent, South Africa, in the last of 3 June tests in the Republic. There have been plenty of changes since, with the latest casualty, Manu Tuilangi, now expected to return for just his 27th England test in 8 years against the All Blacks next week.
Trukai Sports continues with more after this break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To beach volleyball, PNG Volleyball Incorporated has deferred its national selection trials for this year's Oceania Championships due to the overheating of the sand. From the 30 players made up of 20 men and 10 women, only 8 will be selected after national selection trials next weekend.
With 4 weeks into the team's training and preparations for this year's Beach Volleyball Oceania Championships in Tahiti, the selection trials were cancelled due to Port Moresby's sweltering heat. With this delay ahead, President Killer Dick says despite the deferral of the trials, things are still progressing well and according to plan.
20 men and 10 women.
because the interest for the national championship was not very encouraging, so that was the best we could be able to make in our selections. So it's I think it's about 20 men and 10 women's team train-on squad. And we plan to have the selection trials this weekend, today and tomorrow. Unfortunately, due to certain factors, we've suspended that, and we're going to come back on Sunday next week. So I've got to come back to see the PNG Sports Foundation groundsman to make sure that the beach volleyball courts are in good playing arrangement, so that our players can have the comfort to play in because at this time of the year the sun is very, very hot.
From the 30 players, 20 men and 10 women, only the top 8 will be selected into the national side, 2 men's and 2 women's teams. These 8 players will travel to Tahiti to represent PNG at the Oceania Championships come December.
We need to organize ourselves, prepare our players well, the athletes. We focus their attention to the games because now it's off-season, and when it's off-season, a lot of people go their own ways. Also Christmas coming up, so we focus in getting the players' mindset right and their attitude right. So yes, training starts 4 weeks ago, so it's a 2 men and 2 women's team, so we've got 8 players to go down to Tahiti. We are very fortunate that the PNG Olympic Committee is supporting beach volleyball.
Not only is PNG Volleyball Inc. preparing its players for the Oceania Championships, but also for next year's Pacific Games and the 2020 Olympics.
Beach volleyball games in Tahiti, we need to do an agent selection. But also, I'm thinking about the indoor volleyball team as well. We need to also do a selection trials indoor volleyball team, so we're looking at that in December. And this time we're going to get players from Lae and 1 player from Amata to come over, so that we try to give them the opportunity for fair selection.
The 2018 Oceania Beach Volleyball Championship will be hosted by Tahiti and held from the 15th to the 21st of December 2018. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
And that's a wrap for Trukai Sport. We'll be back with the weather details after this break.
Trukai Sport. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast now. In the southern region, mostly fine weather right across the region in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema, Alotau and Popondetta. In the Momasu region, showers across the region, Lae, Wau, Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, showers as well in Lorengau, Kevian, Kokopo, about Imbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. There is a renewal strong wind warning for all coastal waters. Strong southeast winds of 25 to 34 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small crafts and boats are advised to take necessary precautions before and after going out to sea. Waters of southern forecast small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samari Island, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Islands with waters of Madang to Bogia to Wewak, seas of 2 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Samari Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, including waters of Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and to northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to CRC Islands to Long Island, seas of 2 to 3 meters. and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, with waters of New Ireland to east and west New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 metres. Ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas rough with east to southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots with isolated showers and thunderstorms. In the Solomon Sea, seas moderate with southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots with isolated showers and thunderstorms. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rather rough with southeast winds at 15 to 25 knots with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, National Planning Minister Richard Maru has instructed NID boss Noel Mobiha to fast-track NID registration, saying people are getting their NID cards and certificates months and years after registering, which is not good enough. He said provincial registrars need to be given the powers to register people to make the process quicker. The government is reviewing the law to make this legal, says Mr. Maru.
The government aims to achieve total registration of PNG citizens under the NID project by 2021. However, registrations so far have been slow. Minister for National Planning Richard Maru said the long period it takes for people to get their NID cards after registration is unacceptable.
Last year, only this year they are getting the IDs. No, well, this is not good enough. That's too long. They shouldn't be waiting that long. So, I must turn around and speed and we must talk out.
The national identification card will be used to access basic government services and will also be used by voters in the 2022 national general elections.
Now, intention of government or say you like vote long 2022 election only ID you must get national ID. You know what ID now, but not vote now.
Mr. Maru said it is important for government, church, business and community stakeholders to work in partnership to ensure the total registration objective is met. Currently, all NID registrations nationwide are sent to Port Moresby to be processed before NID cards and certificates are given. Mr. Maru said this contributes to the delay. He said provincial registrars need to be given the powers to register people to quicken the process.
Challenge me, I like you speeding my process. I want in the meantime, I like him all. Or IDs come quickly, so man no can come now. Wait long time. Moon na yare millions lo harem now. Me like him days. I'm to so me harem.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lay.
And that's been Saturday's news from the entire news team. Have a top one. Good night.